the Aufero Laser 2. Got one right here. I've had a lot of inquiries about what would be a good entry-level laser that's decent without breaking the bank. I'm Roger, welcome to the shop. I've got the Aufero, made by Ortur, Laser 2 right here. And if you watched any of my previous laser videos, you know I have a Ortur Laser Master 2 Pro, which is a higher end laser. It's very well made, it's excellent. So this is made by the same company, and you don't have to spend anywhere from $500 to $800 for a higher end laser if you're just getting into it. But you don't want one of them $170 pieces of junk either. You want something that's gonna be easy to use, has a mild learning curve. They all have a learning curve. I don't care what one you get, you're going to have a learning curve with it. As far as the software and getting to know it and getting your settings dialed in. And we'll get into that a little bit, and I'll show you how to set the software up on here in both laser Gerbil and in light burn. I pretty much use light burn for everything, but I'm also familiar with laser Gerbil. So we'll do both of those. Take this out of the box, put it together. So the one I got here is the Laser 2. I keep wanting to say Laser Master, but that's Ortur. Laser 2, the module LU2-4SF. I got the SF because the SF stands for short focus. They also make an LF. What's the difference? The LF means long focus. That is better if you primarily do cutting. The SF, short focus, is better if you primarily do engraving, and that's what I do mostly, is engraving. So we got the SF here. It also does cutting, and I'll demonstrate some of that. But if your big thing is going to be cutting parts out of plywood or basswood or whatever, or cutting acrylic, especially if you get into thicker than 3mm, you want the long focus. Short focus will also work, but it'll take more passes. So something to think about if you're kind of looking to buy one and you're not quite sure what to get, is when you see that SF and LF. I know a lot of people are confused about that. That seems to be pretty much restricted to Ortur and Aufero. I haven't seen the SF LF with any other brands, and I have quite a few lasers, so I had a lot of practice with them. Okay, let's get this thing opened up, see what we got in the box. Okay, so let's see what we got here. We have foam, user manual, always handy to have. And you get your little cheesy safety glasses like you're going to get in all of them. You really should, for a blue diode laser, get ones with orange lenses. That's the proper color. And I did a video on the whole thing, and other people have done videos too about it. The proper color for a blue laser is actually orange. And laser glasses, not just like shooting glasses. Okay, and we have some samples to play with here. Some zip ties, little wrench, some screws, a couple little alien wrenches in there. We'll get to those. Laser head. And I see these are marked in centimeters and millimeters on the rails. That's going to be handy when you're kind of trying to get yourself in position. So there's one rail. Little pieces of foam here to get out of the way. Another rail. These would be your Y-axis rails. USB cable. More foam. Power supply. Aluminum extrusion. Boy, this is really well packed, I will say that. Here is the other extrusion with your motherboard on it, the controller, and the cable attachment with it. And it also has a port for an offline controller. I don't have one. I'm not sure if it's available or not. Then you've got your input. It's 24-volt input. And then your USB. Power button, reset button, similar to what's on the Laser Master Pro by Ortur. And I'm looking on here for if we have limit switch inputs or not. And it kind of looks like there is. On the end here, I would have to look at the schematic for the motherboard. So I know this does not have built-in limit switches. And here's the X-axis extrusion. And I see it has zip tie bases. I call them tie wraps, but they're bases that are already attached to the rail for cable management. It's a good idea, because the ones with the sticky backs, I call them peel and stick for a while, because they only stick for a while. And we have another cable here, and I need to get this straightened out a little bit, and it's cold in here, so this is going to be stiff. But we'll get it straightened out. Okay, get rid of this box. Let's put some stuff together. Okay, for hardware, you're going to have this little wrench here, a couple of alien wrenches, a little thumb screw, a little bag of bolts, a little bag of nuts and washers. And I'm going to put all those into a parts tray so I don't have them rolling off the table here. Okay, the first thing you're going to find here is, this is a user manual that comes with it. It's in multiple languages. There's a QR code here you can scan and download. And this is not going to tell you how to put this laser together. It's got some safety instructions, and it tells you what comes with it here, and what the parts are. But it does not, there's no assembly instructions here. And once you get past this, there's some other QR codes here for Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, customer support, etc. Then you get into other languages. So there are no assembly instructions in here. You need to scan this and download them. And I'm not going to do that because I don't have anything out here to do that with. So we're just going to wing it. I've had a lot of experience putting lasers together, so this shouldn't be too tough. Okay, so after looking over the parts and pieces we have here, this is actually very, very simple. It's almost self-explanatory. Something I'm going to be using, I like to use these rather than the included alien wrench. So I like this type of Allen. This happens to be made by Eklund, but any brand will work. This is 3 M&Ms if you're keeping track. And for the little nuts, they do supply you with this little stamped steel wrench. I prefer to use a nut driver. This is 8mm if you're keeping track. So you need 8 M&Ms there. And it doesn't have to be the short, but that was just the one I grabbed. So if you look at your pieces here, there's some numbers here. Part with the motherboard, that's the front. This just lines up together over here. The wire out of the way. So that's going to plug into the axis motor. And on the upper part here, you'd use one of these longer screws. Definitely want to keep your wire out of the way though while you're doing it. And yes, I have paint all in my hands. It's hard to get white enamel off when you get it on there. It'll wear off. All right, and then on the end, over here, there's a place for one of these shorter screws. And I like the way this actually squares itself up as you tighten these screws up. And you want to have this, you'll notice that the stepper motors will go at the same end as the motherboard. And I don't actually torque them down until I have both screws in. So I make sure everything lines up. There's a ground wire here, and I am betting that ground wire needs to be mounted on this screw. And I will turn that wire down so it's not sticking out. So we'll get those tightened up. It'll be a matter of doing the same thing on the other end. You know, there's a curve here. The curve goes up. I don't think you could actually put it in upside down. It would never fit. There's not a whole lot of parts put together here. This was pretty simple. And I'm going to start the one on the other side just so it's not flopping around here. Okay, that part was pretty easy. Now we'll go to the x-axis gantry. That's this guy here. And you'll want the laser side facing you. There's also numbers on here, as you can see, so you'll want them right side up. And if you look on the y-axis carriages here, there are studs on both sides. And you'll notice here there's some holes drilled out. These just sit right on top of that. You need to get those lined up so they'll drop in. Then there will be a washer. And they call these acorn nuts because they resemble an acorn. Always good when your cell phone rings right in the middle of something. But okay, we'll do the other side here. Okay, and something you need to check next is the eccentric nut. And I'll explain what that is in a minute so that it won't do this. So this one on this side is a little loose. What the eccentric nut is, turn this up on edge so you can see it. You see this nut right, these nuts right here, they are not perfectly round. As you turn those, you can adjust how tight these wheels run against this rail. So this one here just spins. So this little wrench they give you here is that's what that's for. So you can turn these, and you don't want it so tight that it's hard to move. You definitely don't want to be able to spin these easy with your fingers. So you need to check both sides. This side's pretty good. That one's a little loose. So when you're done, it should move nice and smooth. And no wobble. And you'll be doing the same thing on the x-axis gantry here. That is good and tight there. So I don't need to mess with that one. Can't just spin the wheels. So we're good to go there. Now the little wire here that sticks out on the end for the stepper motor. Little slot in the side of the extrusion right here. You slip that wire through. Then it will plug into the stepper motor. These are keyed. They only go in one way. Don't force them. If you bend those pins, you'll have a dickens of a time trying to get them straightened out enough to get something plugged in again. So there's that one. On the other side, we do not need to pass through the extrusion. We can just plug directly in. Like so. We'll get this laid down here again. Okay, I've turned this around so the front is actually away from us so you can see this better. This is the top of the x-axis gantry. This is a stepper motor. This little wire here, it's got an X on it. That'll plug into that. This will plug into the laser cable we'll get to in a minute. This ground wire needs to be attached here. So I need to take this back off. Very simple. We have our ground wire there. Once again, this is keyed. It only goes in one way. Don't force it. If it's not lining up, you've got it upside down. Now your other cable that came with this, you'll notice that the two ends are different. One end has a little ground wire and a 3-pin connector that will go onto the laser head. Boy, I wish this wasn't so stiff because it's cold out here. If you're in someplace better than 50 degrees Fahrenheit, I'm sure this won't be quite so stiff and hard to manage. This will plug into this right here, and it's keyed. It only goes in one way, like so. Then you'll see with these zip tie bases, I'm going to turn this up on end so you can see it better. You'll see these zip tie bases here. This is where you're going to tie this cable back for cable management. If you've never used a zip tie before, one end's fat, one side's flat. The tail end goes to the flat side. If you try to put it through the other way, it won't hold. Okay, get those set. And you can cut them off. Okay, I got the laser module here, and there's some protective plastic stuff around the acrylic on here. You'll need to peel off of the top, and on the shield that's held down with a magnet. If you have the SF, you have the LF, you'll have a different type of shield on it. So we'll get that stuff off of there. I'm looking at this, and it almost looks like there is a place to actually add an air assist at some point, but that's not what we're working on right now. This is magnetic, just holds on the bottom with magnets. So that little thumb screw that came with it, it's a little part in the bracket right there that this screws into. You get that started in there. And this slips over the extrusion on the X gantry. And just slide it down to some random point here. We'll tighten that up, hold it. Then this 3-pin connector you have left over will go into the top. And this screw, ground screw goes... Okay, assembly is complete. Okay, next is belt tension. I have this turned upside down. You'll see here on the bottom, on the y-axis, and there's one on the other side as well. There's a little thumb screw right here that you can turn to tighten up the belt. Okay, so how tight do you want it? Well, you want it to travel good, but you don't want it to slip. But you don't want it so tight that it binds things down. So you just want a little give on it. We'll check the one on the other side. And it's pretty good just like it is. Okay, for the X-axis adjustment, it's up here on the top. On the end there's a little screw right here. You can loosen this and you can pull this or push it down according to how tight you need it. Mine is set fine right here. I'm not going to fool with it. But that is the adjustment right there. Okay, for power, you see we have what I call a wall wart, which plugs into the wall and blocks everything else. I'm not a big fan of these, but it is what it is. Yeah, see if I can get this straightened out in this cold shop here. And that will plug right onto the front. And before I get too much further, I need to get a computer over here. Of course, I grabbed the one computer I've got here that doesn't have laser Gerbil on it, so I'm installing that. You can download it from the lasergrrbl.com website. And we want a desktop shortcut for this. All the laptops to grab. I grabbed the only one that didn't have it. So finish. So we're going to get this set up here in Laser Gerbil first. Okay, so this is what you'll see when it comes up. So to start your laser, you need to hold the power button for 5 seconds. I do have it plugged in. I've got the USB cable connected. And the light will come on the front, a blue light indicating you have connection, and then you'll have a red light for power. So we need to come up here, and I'm not sure what COM port it is, so we're going to guess. Click on connect, and it connected, just like that. So that was very simple. Worked like a charm. Now we'll get and we'll set this up in light burn, which takes a little bit more fooling around to do. So I'm going to start light burn here. And if you don't have light burn, it's a free download and you can try it free for 30 days, upon which time you'll have to buy the license. License is $60. That gives you license to put it on 2 computers. And if you ask them nice, they'll even let you do a third. So we're going to go here to where it says devices. And find my laser. We'll say next. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you what I'm going to have to do here because that didn't work, and I'll show you why. Okay, over here where it says devices, I have a lot of lasers, so need to change this COM port to choose. Then go to devices. Then do your find my laser. And next. And there it is. So we'll click on Add Device. And this is the Ortur. And I have mine in inches here, but that's 390 millimeter square is what that means. And of course this doesn't really have a home, but the origin is front left. And we'll just click Finish. And OK. I want to go over here, I want to choose that laser. And I want to go up here to Edit, Device Settings. And right here I want to enable the laser fire button. And we'll close that. Then when you do that, you need to restart Lightburn. So shut that down. I'm getting this error message because I was trying to find the SaneSmart. The SaneSmart has a homing function with limits. So get down here to the Laser 2. This is where we're working off. I do most of my things from the center as a job origin. The actual job origin would be the front left, but I like to work from center. So we'll do a little testing here. Over to Move. Okay, I'll try some movements here. On the screen, I got this set to move an inch per command, so there's our Y-axis. There's X. Of course, this has no home function. This has no homing function because it does not have limits. So we'll fire the laser here just at 1%. Now we need to engrave something. Okay, what you got to do now is get focused. And to do that, there's two different methods. You'll see there are two pieces here that come. These are focusing plates. The orange acrylic is for focusing with the shield on it, and this is the easiest and simplest way. You simply loosen your thumb screw up here, place this underneath, lower it down till it just touches it. This is with the shield on it. Tighten your screw back down, remove the plate. Your focus is set. That is the quick, easy way. If you want to get really, really exact, they give you this little black anodized aluminum plate, in which case you would take off the shield, would place this underneath. The object now is to get the dot as small as possible. So firing the laser at low power, with your glasses on, you can raise and lower until the dot is as tiny as possible. You just simply tighten your screw back up. You can put your shield back on. I let that slip down when I did that. There we go. Then put your shield back on. And you're ready to go. Okay, I'm going to do a little quick test engrave here on this piece of MDF. Just some text on one of the fonts that we use quite a bit. And I'm doing it line, not fill, so this won't take long to run. First thing I want to do is frame this, make sure I'm going to be on my board. Of course, I'm working from center. And this is at 1,000 millimeters per minute at 60% power, a line engrave. Okay, I'll move this out of the way here so you can see that. You can see just how fine of a line it makes. Now I'm going to flip this over and get it set up, and we'll do a fill. Okay, I'm going to do the same graphic here, except this time I'm going to do a fill running at 3,000 millimeters per minute at 60% power. We'll frame this first, make sure I'm going to be on my little piece of MDF here. And this is going to make some smoke. I'll have to go over, open the door. So there we are, that's a fill. Of course, now the next question everybody always seems to have, well, how fast will it go? Now I'm going to set one up here at just about max speed. Okay, this is at 10,000 millimeters per minute, 100% power, just one single word. Frame this. Sure we're staying on the work. This is actual speed. I have not sped this up. So there's our engraving. Of course, it's not as deep because at that speed, there's not too many things you can do with it at that speed. I just wanted to demonstrate how fast this thing can actually run and still be accurate. Okay, so I had some time to review the actual assembly video, and there will be a link to these files in the description. The assembly video, if you happen to not like mine, you can watch theirs. And they also have some information there on getting started and some tutorials on how to get through some of these things, which I'll also be showing here in the next video as we do more testing and setup, and I'll show you some little modifications I'm going to make here with a grid and mounting this to a board for repeatability, that type of thing. So there's two things that I missed when I put this together without viewing their documentation, so I wanted to see if I could do it. This ground wire does go on top. That screw is actually long enough to reach, so after you back it all the way out, you can still put that ground spade underneath it. Just don't over tighten that, or you could possibly break that acrylic. The other little thing I missed, well, there are two zip ties that go right here by the stepper motor. There's two holes there, and that holds this cable and keeps it from tugging on the connections here. But that's the only two things I missed. So make sure if you did what I did before with this ground, you do move that, and make sure you add these two zip ties. Okay, my primary goal on this particular laser and this video was to show an entry-level laser that is not a piece of junk, that is well built, easy to put together, easy to get started on, easy to get your first project going. So that's where I was headed with this. I wanted to show you what you could do with a lower cost laser, quality one, what it can make. So there's a little bit of a demonstration. The video that's going to follow this here in a day or two will go into great detail on how to get set up with mounting it to a board, laying out a grid, laser engraving a grid. We'll be doing some cutting on different materials, engraving different materials. I'll show you what I primarily use these for with laser engraving signs and ceramic tiles and slate coasters, and cutting out little gear cogs like this, so you kind of get an idea what you can actually do with it. So all this was an assembly video showing you how to get it set up. As you can see, it's very, very easy to put together, even without printed instructions that you would have to download elsewhere. But if you watch this video, you'll know how to put it together. It's just that easy. How to load the two different types of software, how to get it set up in Lightburn, how to get it set up in Laser Gerbil. So if you got anything out of this, appreciate getting a thumbs up, always helps the channel. And stay tuned, because I'll have another video coming up here shortly on this. We'll go into great detail on it and do some real testing, and I'll go into detail on what I use it for. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.